we pause for a second or two. This is episode 183, Country Falling in 10 Days. About a week ago, a country fell in just 10 days. So about 3 weeks ago, the country's 60-year or so ruling started crumbling. And in just 10 days, basically the whole area of the land was overrun by an opposing faction, a faction opposing the ruling. Today's episode is called Country Falling in 10 Days. And what we are talking about today is how this event, this piece of news, affects us. How it affects us living in another country. And sort of sorting out intellectually what happened and emotionally how it makes us feel that such a thing can happen in this time. The Polaroid for today's episode, the emotional skill of today, is universal skill time. And when we make use of this universal skill, what we do is that we observe time. We observe how our emotions change with time. We observe how things are built up in time and how they are broken down in time. With this universal skill, we develop a sense, an intuitive sense of how things building up and breaking down, how that relates to time and our sense of time. Sometimes 1 second can feel like ages, and sometimes ages can feel like a second. And universal skill time is about sort of pausing and just noticing different things about time. And today's subject, a country falling in 10 days after having some sort of, at least in its appearances, some sort of consistency for at least 60 years. Today's subject is valuable to pause and make use of our universal skill time, because it looks very extreme to have something fall in just 10 days, to have a country fall in 10 days. It makes us think. It does. When such a thing happens, as this, usually what we do is we start thinking, we start intellectualizing very quickly. So the news will be, different media outlets will be filled with different theories, hypotheses about what actually happened. There are many speculations as to who did what, who made the call, was any call made at all? Was it due to more natural causes, or was it sort of planned? There is much speculation into it. But all the speculation is doing, in one sense, is doing the same thing. It is isolating this event in the form of a purely intellectual event, a strategic event. What we are talking about today, in today's episode, is that this event makes us feel things. It changes how we feel about a country. Because not just anything fell in 10 days. A country fell in 10 days. And that is specific. I live in a country, and you live in a country. And since the Second World War, at least in our Western world, we have viewed countries as rather stable and rather absolute, like they are quite... we do not really question what a country is and its sort of stability. It can seem like a country is just supposed to be there. And now, a country fell in just 10 days. And yes, this country is quite far away from many Western countries, geographically. But still, a country fell in 10 days. That's very quick. The time it took was very little. It just happened. And the suddenness of it, and how it, for many people, came out of the blue. It just happened one day. For many people, they just, what happened? It can feel quite baffling, at a loss for explanation as to why this happened so quickly as it did. So when the news now is filled with speculation, intellectual, strategic speculation as to why this happened, it covers up, or at least it blocks out the space that could also be used for just pausing and just sort of staying a while with how this made us feel about the sort of stable nature of what a country is. It makes us question stability. That's its key function, this event. It makes us question what stability is. Because to many people, the country felt quite stable, or like it's how it's supposed to be. And then it's just not. It's just something else in 10 days. So it makes us question our collective stability. Even though this country, both culturally and geographically, is quite far away, it makes us question or pose the question, can I really take my country, our collective country, for being stable? Can I do that? Or should I question it? So, whether we want to or not, this sort of what if question lies there in the back of our minds. And it was this aspect of time, universal skill time, that something had been building up for at least 60 years and then just torn down in 10 days. It makes us associate and think about our structures, our countries built up for at least 60 years or more. Could they be torn down in 10 days? Whether we want to or not, our imagination starts sort of trying these thoughts. And that is something. It does something to us that we now start to question our own country's stability. It makes claims to our energy that, wow, all of a sudden, are we supposed to question our country's stability? That is major. It affects our decision making. It affects how we make plans for our future, if we even feel like that we should be confident enough to even make any plans. It doesn't feel so fun to make long-term plans if we question the basic stability of our country. It doesn't feel that good. And what we do today, in today's episode, is to pause and stay a while with this feeling that making long-term plans can feel more uncertain, not as stable in the light of this event. And yes, the country is quite far away, both geographically and culturally, but still, a country fell in 10 days. It is something, it in some ways affects our planning, our thinking, our feeling towards our own plans. It makes us nervous. That's the main thing. When a country falls in 10 days, it makes us nervous. Could that happen to my country, we think? It's not fun. So now might be inevitable, but now all of us in our own way sit down and sort of do research into how could this happen? How could a country fall in 10 days? Who made those decisions that led up to that? What was it for? What was sort of the purpose of that country falling so quickly? To what greater end did that happen? Now, all of us in our own way are sort of sitting down and thinking about this, or talking about it. Because we want to sort of find answers telling us that it could not happen to our country. We want to be proven wrong in our fear. That that could never happen to our country. We want to find. So that we can keep making our plans, keep planning for a future, keep making long-term plans. We want to ease our worried feeling. We want to feel safe again. And that's why we study. That's why we make comparisons. That's why we discuss. And it is difficult, if not impossible, to reach any exhaustive answers, to sort of find the answer. Perhaps that's not possible. Perhaps that's quite naive to think that we can find such an answer. And that is why, as a complement, as an emotional complement, we pause for a second or two and contemplate how time felt, how it feels that something can fall in 10 days, and we sort of dignify our own reaction to this. Sometimes, as we are made nervous by some event, just addressing how we react and spending time, pausing and spending some time with our own reaction can do more for our sober decision making than trying to research intellectually the ins and outs of what happened and what didn't happen. Sometimes the answer is to just physically sort of ground ourselves and address how it made us feel in our body, in our thinking, in our soul. Universal skill time is very useful for that, to address, often without words, to just address emotionally what this meant to us. Something as big as a country to fall in just 10 days. And that anything can be built up for years and years and years, and then just in more than a week, just a bit more than a week, it's just torn down and turned into something completely different. That is a big sense of lost control. And losing control so quickly is always it's always devastating. And that is why we pause. When we get this sense of lost control, we pause. and address the feeling, address our reaction to the lost control. We sort of hold ourselves, pick ourselves up that, wow, this was tough for me. Even though I personally am not invested in this country, it affected me nonetheless. It was a sense of lost control nonetheless. And now I pause for a second or two and recognize that sense of lost control. That's what we do. That's what we do. That's it for today. Thank you.